Something strange is happening to relationships. People have more ways to meet than ever before. Messages start instantly. New connections appear every day. Yet breakups seem to happen faster than ever. So what changed? Did expectations quietly become impossibly a euro? Or did modern life rewrite the rules of commitment without anyone noticing? Modern relationships look normal from the outside. Two people meet. Attraction appears. Messages start flying back and forth. At the beginning, everything feels easy. Conversations last for hours. Attention is constant. Both people feel that something important might be starting. Then, slowly, the atmosphere changes. Not dramatically. Just small shifts. A reply arrives later than usual. A short message replaces a long conversation. One evening feels slightly colder than the ones before. Nothing looks serious yet. Every relationship experiences moments like that. Conflict has always existed between two people trying to build something together. But today the situation around those conflicts is different. A generation ago, relationships developed inside a smaller world. Meeting someone new required time. Leaving a relationship meant stepping into real uncertainty. That reality no longer exists. Now a single phone screen can introduce hundreds of new people. Conversations begin instantly. Attention moves quickly from one connection to another. At first, that feels like freedom. More choice should mean better relationships. More opportunities should increase the chance of finding the right partner. Yet something strange happens when the number of options grows too large. Instead of feeling lucky to have someone, people begin comparing. Someone else seems more exciting. Another person appears more confident. A different relationship looks happier than the one happening right now. Comparison slowly changes how commitment feels. The relationship itself may still be stable. Nothing dramatic may have happened. But the mind keeps asking quiet questions. Could something better exist? Did I choose too quickly? Is this really the right person for the future? Those questions rarely stay small. Once doubt enters the picture, even normal problems begin to feel larger. A simple disagreement suddenly looks like a warning sign. Silence during an argument feels heavier than before. Gradually, the relationship that once felt secure starts feeling uncertain. That uncertainty creates pressure. Two people may still care about each other. Attraction may still exist. Yet the environment around them constantly introduces alternatives. New faces. New conversations. New possibilities. Under those conditions, commitment becomes harder to protect. Not because people stopped loving. Because the modern world quietly introduced a new idea into every relationship. The idea that somewhere out there something better might exist. And once that thought appears, another question follows naturally. If better options always seem possible, how can anyone ever feel completely certain about the person standing right in front of them? Sooner or later, most people start asking themselves a difficult question. Is it actually easier to stay alone? At first, the idea sounds peaceful. No one expects explanations. Plans change whenever you want. Life moves according to your own rhythm and nobody interferes with it. For a while, that freedom feels good. Days become predictable. Evenings are quiet. Decisions are simple because only one opinion matters. Still, something slowly appears after some time. Silence. A person comes home after a long day and realizes there is nobody there to share the moment with. Small victories feel smaller when they stay inside your own head. Even frustration becomes heavier when it has nowhere to go. Because of that, many people leave the single life behind fairly quickly. another pattern appears instead. A relationship begins. Energy returns. Attention from another person feels exciting again. Conversations stretch late into the night and the connection feels strong. Then life settles. Work becomes routine. The relationship becomes familiar. The intensity that existed at the beginning slowly cools down. That moment forces a decision. Some couples slow down and try to rebuild the connection. Others feel restless and begin looking for something new before the relationship has actually ended. Modern life makes that search incredibly easy. A message can start a conversation within seconds. Interest appears from someone unexpected. Suddenly a stranger provides the attention that feels missing at home. At first it seems harmless. Just talking. Just curiosity. Yet emotional lines rarely stay clear for long. Conversations become more personal. A sense of excitement returns, and the person who once felt distant suddenly looks interesting again. This is where loyalty becomes complicated. Few people plan to betray a partner. Most believe they would never cross that line. Still, when dissatisfaction meets opportunity, temptation begins to grow. A relationship may still exist on the surface. Friends still see a couple. Daily routines continue as usual. Inside, however, something has already shifted. Attention from someone new creates energy that feels difficult to ignore. The mind starts comparing two very different experiences, stability on one side and excitement on the other. That comparison creates tension. Leaving a relationship feels risky. Staying exactly where things are feels frustrating. Searching for something new looks tempting, even when it carries consequences. Different people choose different paths. Some walk away. Others remain and try to repair what is broken. A few make decisions that later damage everyone involved. None of those choices are simple. Yet one question keeps returning. If modern life constantly introduces new possibilities, how long can any relationship survive before curiosity starts pulling someone in another direction? At some point, the conversation always reaches a sensitive question. Who is actually responsible for this situation? Many people quickly choose a side. Some argue that modern men no longer want commitment. Others claim that women expect too much and refuse to accept ordinary partners. Both explanations appear everywhere online. Yet reality is rarely that simple. Relationships are shaped by the environment people live in. When the environment changes, behavior changes with it. Over the last 20 years, daily life has transformed faster than at any other moment in modern history. Technology sits at the center of that shift. A person can now meet strangers without leaving the room. Conversations begin instantly. Attention travels across cities and countries in seconds. Something that once required effort now happens with a few taps on a screen. This constant access quietly changes expectations. When everything moves quickly, patience becomes difficult. Waiting for a relationship to grow slowly starts feeling frustrating. People expect the same speed from emotions that they receive from technology. Human connection does not work that way. Trust needs time. Understanding needs time. Real intimacy grows slowly. Still, modern culture celebrates the opposite rhythm. Excitement is rewarded. Novelty is praised. The next experience always promises something better. Under that pressure, many relationships struggle to stay steady. Partners begin measuring each other against unrealistic standards. Social media shows endless examples of attractive couples, dramatic love stories, and perfectly edited moments of happiness. None of it represents daily reality, yet the comparison happens anyway. After seeing those images again and again, ordinary relationships can start feeling disappointing. A normal argument suddenly looks like failure. quiet evenings together seem boring. Routine begins to look like a problem that needs fixing. But routine has always been part of long relationships. Two people sharing a life eventually reach calm periods. Work becomes familiar. Conversations become comfortable. The intensity of the beginning slowly transforms into stability. Modern culture rarely celebrates stability. Instead, it glorifies excitement and constant emotional highs. That creates an impossible expectation. Real relationships cannot maintain the same intensity forever. So tension grows between what people expect and what real life delivers. One partner may believe something is missing. The other may feel that everything is actually normal. Neither person is necessarily wrong. They are simply reacting to a world that constantly pushes the idea that something better might exist somewhere else. Which leads to a deeper question. If modern culture keeps promising endless excitement, are stable relationships starting to look less attractive than they once did? Another uncomfortable possibility begins appearing once people look deeper into this topic. What if modern relationships are not collapsing because people stopped caring? What if they are collapsing because expectations quietly became unrealistic? Think about what people see every day. Movies show dramatic love stories. Social media shows couples traveling the world, laughing together, living what looks like a perfect life. Every scroll introduces another example of happiness that seems effortless. Real relationships rarely look like that. Most days are ordinary. Work creates stress. Energy runs low. Conversations become practical instead of romantic. Two people share responsibilities, routines, and sometimes frustration. None of that means the relationship is failing. It simply means life is happening. Yet constant exposure to idealized images can slowly change perception. A normal relationship begins to feel less exciting when it is compared to a carefully edited version of someone else's life. Doubt grows quietly from that comparison. Someone begins wondering why their own relationship feels calmer, less dramatic, maybe even slightly boring. The partner who once felt special now appears ordinary. That word is important. Ordinary. Stable relationships eventually become ordinary because stability replaces constant intensity. Passion from the beginning slowly transforms into something quieter. Trust. Familiarity. Partnership. Those qualities rarely look impressive on a phone screen. Excitement does. So attention keeps drifting toward new possibilities that promise stronger emotions. A new person can appear interesting simply because the story has not started yet. Every beginning feels intense. The real challenge appears later, when intensity fades and two people must decide whether the connection still matters without the thrill of novelty. At that moment, many relationships face their hardest test. Not because love disappeared, but because expectations were shaped by a world that constantly promises something more exciting. Which leads to a difficult question. If people are trained to chase intensity, how can long-term stability ever compete with the thrill of something new? At this point, one final question remains. Where is all of this leading? Modern relationships exist in a completely different environment than they did 20 or 30 years ago. Technology changed how people meet, how they communicate, and how easily attention can move from one person to another. None of those changes are disappearing. If anything, they are becoming stronger every year. That means relationships will continue facing the same pressure, endless options, constant comparison, and a culture that celebrates excitement more than stability. Yet something important often gets forgotten in this conversation. Every strong relationship eventually becomes calm. The early intensity fades. Routine appears. Two people slowly stop performing for each other and start living real life together. For some couples, that calmness feels safe. For others, it feels like something important disappeared. The difference between those two reactions may decide the future of the relationship. Because stability rarely looks dramatic. It does not create viral stories or exciting posts online. Most of the time it simply looks ordinary. Still, ordinary life together has always been the foundation of long relationships. So perhaps the real question is not whether modern dating is broken. Maybe the real question is much simpler. Can people still recognize the value of stability in a world that constantly tells them to keep searching for something better?